A firefighter works at a residential district that was damaged by shelling in Kyiv, March 23, 2022. Reuters. Marco Urica. Rescuers work at a site of an industrial building damaged by an airstrike in Kyiv, March 22. State Emergency Service of Ukraine via Reuters. Members of the Ukrainian Territorial Defense Forces check a man as they patrol during a curfew in Kyiv, March 22. Reuters. Gleb Garanich. Smoke rises after shelling near Kyiv, Ukraine, March 22, 2022. Reuters. Gleb Garanich. Damaged buildings are seen following a military strike in Shevchenkivsky district in Kyiv, March 23. Reuters. Serhiy Naznenko. Members of the Territorial Defense Forces participate in training exercises in Kyiv, March 22. Reuters. Mikhail Polinchak. The remains of ammunition lie on the ground at the site of a damaged building hit in a military strike in Kyiv, March 23. Reuters. Serhiy Naznenko. Firefighters work at the site of a bombing at a shopping center in Kyiv, Ukraine, March 21. Reuters. Marco Urica. People inspect a building damaged in a military strike in Kyiv, March 23. Reuters. Serhiy Naznenko. Members of the Ukrainian Territorial Defense Forces Asenia and Roman pose for a picture following their wedding ceremony in Kyiv, Ukraine, March 20. Reuters. Mykola Timchenko. Sensitive material. This image may offend or disturb bodies of unidentified people who were killed and were picked up by a volunteer from Hostomel are pictured at a crematorium in Kyiv, Ukraine, March 20. Reuters. Thomas Peter. A rescuer walks through debris at the site of a bombing at a shopping center in Kyiv, Ukraine, March 21. Reuters. Marco Urica. Residential buildings are seen through smoke from fires after shelling on the outskirts of the capital, in Kyiv, March 23. Reuters. Gleb Garanich. A woman removes shards of glass from her broken window after a bombing near her apartment building in Kyiv, March 20. Reuters. Thomas Peter. Pictures lie amidst the rubble of former teacher Natalia's house, which was hit in a military strike, in Kyiv, March 23. Reuters. Serhiy Naznenko. A firefighter works at a residential district that was damaged by shelling in Kyiv, March 23. Reuters. Marco Urica. A rescuer reacts inside a damaged shopping mall in Kyiv, Ukraine, March 21. State Emergency Service of Ukraine via Reuters. Sensitive material. This image may offend or disturb. Dead bodies lie on the ground at the site of a bombing at a shopping center in Kyiv, Ukraine, March 21. Reuters. Marco Urica. A woman walks near a car and building damaged in a military strike in Kyiv, March 23. Reuters. Serhiy Naznenko. Alexis Antilla, a member of a group of U.S. volunteer fighters who have taken up arms alongside Ukrainian soldiers, sits in a wheelchair in front of a hospital in the town of Brovary, near Kyiv, Ukraine, March 20. Reuters. Marco Urica. A firefighter works at a residential district that was damaged by shelling in Kyiv, March 23. Reuters. Marco Urica. Ukrainian soldiers stand next to a crater left by bombing at an apartment building in Kyiv, March 20. Reuters. Thomas Peter. Smoke rises from burning vehicles outside a residential building damaged by an airstrike in Kyiv, March 20. State Emergency Service of Ukraine via Reuters. Rescuers work at a site of an industrial building damaged by an airstrike in Kyiv, March 22. State Emergency Service of Ukraine via Reuters. A view shows an apartment building destroyed during an air raid in Kyiv, March 21. Reuters. Serhiy Noznenko. Rescue workers stand at the site of a bombing at a shopping center in Kyiv, March 21. Reuters. Thomas Peter. Olga, a 27-year-old Ukrainian woman seriously wounded while sheltering her baby from shrapnel blasts, holds her baby Victoria as her husband Dmytro stands by her side in Kyiv, March 18. Olkamat Children's Hospital via Reuters. A dog walks at the site of a bombing at a shopping center in Kyiv, March 21. Reuters. Thomas Peter. A Ukrainian soldier walks in a shopping center that was damaged in a bombing in Kyiv, March 21. Reuters. Thomas Peter. Cars are damaged at the site of a bombing at a shopping center in Kyiv, March 21. Reuters. Thomas Peter.